What up, fam? Hope everybody can hear me. I'm gonna get ready for some people a chance to get in here. I know this is kind of a impromptu situation, but I felt the need to kind of get some things cracking today. Um, and just have some open conversation real briefly. I did title this the whole story. I gotta decide whether or not that's what God is gonna allow me to do or tell the whole story. But I'm gonna do the best I can do with what I got, right? And but I pray that all of you out here are doing well in your respective spaces with regards to whatever that space may be or whatever you've been called to be. I think the last time I talked to you guys, I did a live one talking about praying for your teaching your young how to pray and understanding what that actually meant. I will let you guys know that from that live. Uh, I had some people reach out to me and said that video was very concerning. And my comment back to that individual was that that video should never be concerning for someone that understands as a coach or as a leader or as a mentor that you, as a family man, that you have to be in a posture, position to be able to teach these young men and women that are under your care tutelage how to be able to pray. So that's a whole different story for a whole different day. But what I did want to kind of talk about today is, and I hope that for you in this group, well, excuse me, those that I'm associated with that are in respective baseball groups, that if you can get on or do whatever, I would ask that you share this. If you choose to see fit to, if not, then don't worry about it. But the one of the things that I want to discuss is, and I've been seeing it go around for a couple of days now, is this concept of being a coach, understanding what it means to coach. To be a coach is an ordination of God. I won't lie about that. That is you being given a task to develop or to work with someone's child. That term coach should never be taken lightly, because to be a coach puts you up there with being a pastor, being a teacher, being an educator, someone in a position of leadership to develop young men and women. And I think if some of us would go back and look at our lives of looking at who was that teacher, who was that person, who was that individual that that we were all tied to, I guarantee you, for the era that we grew up in the '90s, uh, there's probably a particular person, one or two coaches or people that we can say, hey, they influenced my life. But in this day and age, right, I think that we live and suffer in silence. Those of us that are parents that uh, have entrusted our kids to certain coaches and certain things happen, where we get kind of upset, and then when we want to have conversations or question that, we're perceived to be the bad individual. But once again, those individuals that have the term coach, that is a very, very powerful term, because that is the one that sticks with the individual forever, right? And I will say this, and again, I'm telling you the whole story. Um, since my kids have been here in Florida, it was most definitely a very dramatic change of what we were used to in Virginia to what is here. Florida, everyone's a different beast as it pertains to athletics and how athletics are treated. Um, you better have a backbone. You better be able to deal with certain things. Whatever development that you get, you have to get it on your own before you walk in, right? But that's fine. That's good. But where the other part of this comes into play at, of being a coach doesn't mean that I can call you every name but the name that God gave you. Being a coach doesn't mean I'm going to sit here and tear you down and never build you back up. Being a coach means that I want to figure out how I can make you the best damn person that you can be, right? That's what you sign up for when you become a coach. And it's just that simple. I'll debate that all day long, right? Regardless of what level you are, because I've been a coach for a lot of years, and I watch people how they do things, and they say, well, well, it's the parents' responsibility. A lot of times, man, parents don't know how to do this. So as a coach, a lot of things that you take on that you deal with that you may not want to, but when you sound to say you want to coach someone, that's a part for the course, right? I've seen a lot of content flying back and forth the last days about, what a coach is. Well, I've given my definition of what a coach is. A coach is a man or a woman that gives of themselves to elevate that next person to the next level. That's what a coach is, right? I don't give a damn what sport it is. It could be baseball, basketball, whatever. It's all about having that person in your life that's going to elevate you. And that's the gist of it, right? I mean, I'm only one person. I'm only a cog in the spoke, but I'm gonna tell you one thing that's happening right now, and why I really wanted to speak on this is because there's a lot of us and our children that are actually suffering, right? And but it's the will of God that's happening to get this stuff to a level of exposure. If you got coaches out here chasing rings, chasing paper trophies, and you're not looking at how you can get this next man or young woman to the next level, um, then the comment that I heard yesterday is true. Travel ball across the board is the only way that that child or the individual is going to be able to ascertain and get to the next level. High school ball may not be what it used to be, and how scouts and different things may come. Again, this is my personal opinion of what I've seen. I think there's evidence out there to support that to be a coach, that means you have a heart to want to support and change. That's the whole story with that, right? You want to change and get someone to evolve, to be a better person. And so, with that being said, I think we need to understand that the whole story behind this is being a coach is what are you willing to sacrifice? That's the key word. What are you willing to sacrifice to ensure that your player becomes the best thing that God ever created under your watch? Under your watch. Now, I was small peanuts compared to a lot of coaches that I see around here. But those that know me, that when I coached in Chesterfield, Virginia, I was a freaking pistol, bro. For them kids, I'd die for them kids, man. Like when we stepped on the field to play any sport, any court, my young men came prepared. Even my young woman, wherever Miss LJ is, I had a second baseman that was a beast as a girl in Chesterfield County. But the point I'm making is the parents used to ask for me by name to be their children's coach. And the reason being is because I empowered them to take control of who they are. I, I empowered them to understand their voice. Even at that age of 7, 8, and 9, even back to T-ball, and even playing EYB, and anyone that know me as a coach, we always empower these young men and women to be the best them they could be. So I say all of that to say is over the last 45 days, I haven't really been pushing Bid and Pro the way we supposed to because my son has been going through some things and he wanted to take some time to really figure that out before we start putting solutions out there. But everything kept leaning back to the same principle of three things. Our athletes are not self affirmed, they have little or no communication skills, and they do not have the ability to advocate for themselves. If coaches know that these young men and women are going to take whatever they throw out, as a young ball player, you can't even raise your hand and say, Coach, I have a question I don't understand. They're expecting you to already know, right? What we do on this side of the fence is we teach these young men and women how to have subtleties, have nuances to be able to advocate, to communicate, and affirm. But the main thing about the affirmation piece is the next part of what I'm going to say. The most important part of all of that is self affirmation. To be able to look yourself in the mirror as a young woman or a young man that's playing a sport and say, regardless of whatever my coach thinks of me, I'm going to be the one that busts my tail every single day. I'm going to practice. I'm not going to try to prove nobody wrong. I'm going to prove it to myself. That's a skill that has to be taught, right? Our children take a lot of different stuff from just day to day normal stuff. That's why we talked about being able to pray, talk to yourself, and talk to God, right? Bid and pro, same thing. How do I affirm myself? How do I look myself in the mirror and say, hey, I trust what I see and I know who I am? What I will not fall victim to is someone saying, "Oh man, you're trying to make money off these kids." I've never asked for a dime. I've never asked for a dollar or a dime to want to change a young man or young woman's life. Because at the end of the day, I gotta look my God in the eye and say, you know what, I stole, I did this. No, I'm looking to give of everything that's been given of me to teach a young man and young woman to how to be a better person. That's what Biddy and Pro stands for. That's what we're doing. That's what my sons want, right? They could sit here on this line and tell everything that they got going on. But I wanted to come as a father to man to society and let you know, hey, listen, the term coach can never be taken lightly. The word coach can never be taken lightly. We all, as coaches, have different lanes, different things that God has set us in. We all have an anointing flowing through our hands that have different gifts and different principles that need to be taken a look at. But the number one rule of thumb is, as a coach, is that in order for me to be effective, I have to understand who I'm dealing with and the people I have around me. I think the challenge that we deal with as coaches is that sometimes we just want to worry about the wins and everything else. Sometimes we miss the window of opportunity to get to know our players. I've seen coaches create dissension. I've seen coaches create, systematic division in their programs where, it becomes a narcissistic style behavior, right? I'm telling you what I've seen and what I know, right? I can tell you right now that the way God has positioned coaches now, leadership above everything, servant leadership above everything. I'm not going to go out here and tell you, young men and young women, what you should or shouldn't do. I'm not going to sit here and tell you to go beat yourself up. No, no. Let's figure out what's going on. Yeah, to actually be a coach. And boy, I'm about to speak in tongues. David McGlone, boy, your ears should be burning because as I'm talking, I'm thinking about you. I'm thinking about the conversations. This man on the line with me right now, Coach David McGlone. Me and my brother used to run an AAU program out of Richmond. Fourth grade came out, and I mean, we used to have church on Sundays with our boys. I mean, we would mentor these young men to the point that when they hit the court, I was just talking about this, bro. When we hit the court, we would kill it on Sundays. I just told my guy Bobby Gilbert, Coach Bobby Gilbert, about this the other day, where we would tear it up in the gym on Sundays. AAU kids, fourth and fifth grade. But we as coaches set examples for these young men. And we had some special dudes in that fourth grade group beyond belief, right? But the point I'm making to all of that is that's what coaching is, right? And if you feel otherwise, hey, that's your opinion. But every coach has a specific gift that God has given. But do you understand what your gift is? I played pro ball. I did this, I did that. But is that what God's telling you to do? Is that God really breaking you down to teach this young man and teach this young woman how to be everything you need to be? Now again, you can judge me, but this is my opinion of what I do for a living as it pertains to wanting to see people do better. There's a lot of us out here, right? I ain't trying to block no blessings my kids got. But I shouldn't have to walk in fear that as a person that has a platform that we're all about inspiring young men and young women, we should talk about this. We should be able to talk about the fact of being able to put our arms around a young person and see their growth and see their development. It's real, right? Regardless of whatever else, right? So I just want to share that, man. It's like, we got, the Bible talks about we have different special gifts and talents. If you notice something, right, I'm not going to deviate from who the Lord called me to be. I'm never going to deviate that. This whole Bid and Pro platform, I don't care what faith or background you come from. Every last form or whatever deity you call your God or whatever, everything is based on some level of support and belief. Being able to go out here and want to attack the world for what it is, being able to be the best person you can be. But I guarantee you, if you look at yourself and say, do I have the ability to affirm myself? Do I believe in me? Do I have a means to advocate? What kind of support system I got around me? Right? What kind of support system I got? I just told a parent the other day, I'm not yelling at no coaches as no daddy. Teach your kids these three principles: self affirmation, advocacy, communication. Because Coach Dave will tell you, Coach Bobby will tell you, the high level coaches on here, They'll tell you, I don't want you to talk to me about your kid. I want your young man and woman to be able to come and talk to me. That's what a coach does. But when that child approaches that coach and the child comes back and says the coach degraded them or talked down to them because they advocated for themselves, now we got a problem. Now we got a serious problem, right? These are what we're saying as coaches we want. We want these young women to advocate for themselves, but when they do, you get offended because the kid is saying, "Hey, coach, why I'm on the bench? Tell me what I got to do." Da 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 da. I'm trying to learn, and you become offended as a coach. Man, that's a whole different world, Slim. That's a whole different world. So again, I don't care if it's basketball, I don't care if it's football, I don't care what it is, right? If anyone's got their child with them right now, listen to me say this. Your coach's job is to actually put you in a position to be successful, right? But if you feel like you're not in a position to be successful, go to your coach and have a grown man woman conversation about, hey coach, this is what I got questions about this, right? You go with everything you need. If you need help, go to betterandpro.org and get you a session with us and I'll teach you how to do it. I ain't asking your mom and daddy for no money. But even if you the mom or dad, teach them to be able to do this. Affirm, advocate, and communicate. Because what God's got for you is your plan. What God got for you is your plan. Can't nobody take that from you. Wow, Dave, that's crazy. You said it. He said we had 11 boys with grown man emotions, and we legitimately taught them soldiers how to talk, walk, and how to command their space. We may have did it too well, and that was 2018. Um, but the point we're making with this is every ball player, it's a superpower. I want to be clear. Because if I teach you to communicate, you can't go out here and say what you want to say to no coach. Remember, that's still a grown woman and a grown man, right? You can't do that, right? It's about being able to use that gift for good to actually elevate you to understand how do I create my plan? What is my point of execution? What do I got to do, right? That's what this is, right? So parents, coaches, you know, we'll never be on the same accord. But if I equip my mini me to be prepared the way I need him to be, coach, don't you turn your back on that child when they come and talk to you. Don't sit there and use degrading words to describe a child. Don't sit there and tell that kid what he or she can't be. You're a dream killer. You ain't no coach. You're a dream killer, right? Don't sit there, right? Take the personal bias out and get rid of the coach's tag and just be a man or woman on the street. That's being 100, right? Because that title, that position comes a lot of power. And a lot of people look up to that, right? So to these young men and women out here, and to the youth, I'll say this much: stop half-assing in practice, stop playing around, and honestly, maybe stop wasting your coach's time if you don't want to be there because you don't like it, right? Let's teach you how to walk and talk differently, so you don't. You, I teach my sons, you never get a chance to make a first impression. You'll never get that back. So whatever a person thinks of you, that's what they perceive you to be. You can come back with a different front the next day, but it's like you'll never get that back because you showed a representative versus showing who you really were, right? So it's a double-edged sword with this, student athletes. I want to make this clear. But if you take the three principles that we give and you have one of the biggest qualities of humility and being a good person, you got receipts at that point. As a coach, I want to talk to you. I want to see what makes you different. I want to see what makes you tick, right? So we got to own, everyone's got to play their part in this. And parents, let's just sit back and teach them and let them fly. Let's stay in their corners. Let's stay in their corners, right? Teach them every word ain't F your coach, da 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 da. No, 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 no. Teach them because what's going to happen is they're not going to be in this sport forever. And they're going to have to go get a real job or do whatever they got to do. Let's teach them how to do this. Last thing, if any one of my colleagues out there want to sit on this platform with me and we chop it up and have all these boxes and windows filled, this is what Bid and Pro is about. We're about creating those communications. We're about creating that affirmation, that level of advocacy through coaching. If you got a coaching platform, you got something you want to talk about, we're here. That's what we do. Right now, as most of you know, I focus my main attention on baseball, but that's not my main sport of choice. I'm open to. I mean, as anyone knows me, my kids went from baseball, basketball to football. We've only been in this full-time baseball thing for 5 years, but my main focus is how can I make the life of a young man or a young woman better. That's my main focus every single day. And I said here on this platform, I ask God to not allow me to die unfulfilled because I want to do this every single day of my life. I've watched my sons evolve. My son's on the way out of here in another 2 years, right? They going to school, play ball, wherever they're gonna go. I'm not gonna stop doing this. I'm not gonna stop teaching. I'm not gonna stop educating. I'm not gonna stop working with AAU programs, track program. I'm not gonna stop. Mm-mm. Nah, nah. And the last thing that I'm gonna say is that my mission, and Coach Bobby Gilbert, my man Tim Battle that just popped up here was one of the baddest coaches in the game. My mission in life is to change this narrative on black baseball. So if y'all want to share something, share this. Right? We talking about what MLB is doing. I just used this in another prayer portal meeting. I just talked about this, right? MLB got all this stuff on the front end set up, but there ain't no back end pull through. I just sent out some pictures yesterday to certain colleagues looking at like different teams, and where you'll see one, maybe two kids of color on that team. But we talk about we don't have no seat at the table on the front end with MLB. Well, we ain't pulling nobody else on the back end to come through, right? You got cats all up and down in our collective. I mean, you got us in Florida Minority Baseball Prosper. I mean, Florida Minority Baseball. You got Alex and MBB. You got Pro U Foundation. You got us all up and down. You got a bunch of us out here, Coach Battlegrounds out there in Atlanta with Coach Tim. You got Marquise. But you got a bunch of organizations out here that are pulling these kids. But the one thing that makes baseball different compared to any other sport for young black men to come into this sport, there's usually a black father involved at some capacity, or some level of coach is pulling this young man and grooming him because he may be a single mother. You know what? The sad part is we all ain't got the same level of talent in this game, but it sure as hell is enough of us around this game that we can raise up a whole generation of ball players to go out here and play ball. It may not be the pretty stuff, and it's hard, right? It's hard for a lot of parents that sit here in these various groups to see these ball players, and everybody's story is, oh, my son went 2 for 3, my son 3 for 4. I don't tell them lies, man. My youngins is struggling, right? That's the beauty. My man Wayne Reddick said it best. This is a beautiful struggle. I ain't gonna sit here and put everything that my kids do on social media about baseball because it'll have me mad, right? They doing their thing out here, but the whole story is this, right? This game is based on failure, bro. And that's why we run away from this beautiful game of baseball. We want instant gratification. Yo, I'm trying to tell you, my man right here was a third round draft pick and a beast, and my little brother, I love him to life. And he will tell you the beautiful struggles of this game, right? But Tim always told me, man, I gotta get back to this game that gave to me. And right now, this dude is an MILB manager for a team up in Pennsylvania. The game will make room for you, but you got to get involved with the game. But the thing about it is, we can't make no excuses no more that black boys don't play baseball. We get down. But what I would say to the black boys play baseball groups and everybody else, your heartaches and your pains about what your kids going through, that's real, right? For the parents to go to those groups and see out of the 17,000 of us that may be in that group, and you seeing all these high level name kids going 2 for 3, man, anybody know Christian Moore at Tennessee? Christian Moore was an example of what I mean by the grind. My brother was 0 for 5 the other night. 0 for 5. Coach never quit on him. It's back to the coach again, right? Coach didn't quit on him. He came back and went 3 for 4 the next night. This thing is a beautiful struggle. But the point I end with this is that all of these sports are a beautiful struggle. But let's equip these young men and women to be able to go out here and play in their beautiful struggles respectively. Respectively. Jay Fitz, if you actually see this, man, I want to get with you and your daughter to help her. We got tennis heads out here. You know what I mean? We got black girls playing tennis, you know, you know, speaking of Mike Perm, I appreciate you, cuz. Um, but it's the same premise, right? It's the same premise across the board. We got youngins that want to do different things. Let's be the coaches of choice. Bid and Pro has a litany of coaches. We got mental health coaches. We got business executive coaches. But we can speak to every child situation, right? To some level or some degree. And if there's personal help required, luckily for us, we have staff that actually are true mental health providers, right? That can do that. So, family, I'm pretty much done. I do want to start doing a weekly podcast with coaches to talk about their services, about what they do. Uh, Coach DM, I got to get you on. Coach Tim, want to get you on. Want to get pretty much those in my circle. And those outside of my circle, I would love to have you because I touch a different group of people that you may not touch. I try to stay away from the groups as much as possible because there's a lot of negative talk. But again, if you want to share this over there, go right ahead. I have no problem. I would love to do more with other people. But the main focus is, man, God first for me and everything that I'm doing. And it's no more, no less. And the rest of this takes care of itself. Family, I appreciate it. I got to roll. It's 2 o'clock. My kids got a session at 2:30 on spring break, and we ain't stop working. So they mad at me because they want to play video games. Nah, that ain't happening. Not on my watch. Hey, family, I love you guys. Check us out at bidinpro.org. We got some for all your baseball heads out there that started up. We got some new baseball stuff popping in this week. I was talking to some guys yesterday. We got stuff coming out there. Uh, yeah, it's just a lot. But any support you can forgive. If you want to participate, you got sessions you want to get done. Let's get it done. But Coach Dave McGlone, I love you, man. Coach Tim, I love you. Barrington, love you. Uh, let's come back, man, and do this. Like I said, I love to do this every week around this time. Would love to have different coaches pop on. And just again, and I'll say this. The thoughts and views of everyone that comes on this platform may not be those collectively of Diaz Moore, Biddy, and Protomore Legacy Foundation, all respective sponsorship. So I'm going to leave that there. Family, I love y'all. Y'all have an awesome day. Get back with me. Bye.